Welcome to the Agility in Real Life podcast, Take 5 in Real Life. Now your hosts, Mike Studeman and Jeff Lee.
Hi, and welcome back to the Agility IRL podcast, Take 5 IRL. I'm one of your hosts, Jeff Lee.
And I'm the other host and the other partner at agilityIRL, Mike Studeman. Jeff, I hope you're doing well today.
I'm doing fantastic, Mike. We try to create episodes that are thin slices of information, just 5 minutes on various topics. And in Agile, we also talk about this concept of thin slicing. Do you mind defining that for us?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm not sure a guy built like me should be anywhere around the word thin, but I'll do my best. Thin slicing is making sure that you have a thin slice of potentially valuable product that could be released end to end. So instead of focusing on just creating the data layer of an application or the business logic layer of an application, you want to get a little bit of the data, a little bit of the business logic, and certainly a little bit of the user interface to be able to prove out the product, and once again have something that you could potentially release. Anything you want to add to that kind of colloquial definition there, Jeff?
No, I think you framed it up pretty well. Getting something working through all the layers of a system. We're thinking software here generally when we talk about this. But you mentioned potential release. A lot of times that's something we need to think about. It's something that works front to back, but it might be so minimalistic that a product owner would not choose to release it at that point. When you say that it could be released, I'm assuming, reading into that you're saying it's something that works.
Absolutely. And I think you have a great example from one of the clients that you've been working with around kind of their journey towards getting to that thin slice. Do you want to give our audience a little background on that?
Yeah, they're looking at implementing a new system, and what they were looking at is kind of a packaged thing, but they have to create a database on the back end to hold some information that they're pulling from one system. They need to display it to users and basically create some reports and other information off of it. And so when they were looking at going about doing the work, they're like, well, we need to get input from our users on what these screens look like. So let's create some wireframes. For those who aren't familiar with the term, wireframe is basically a picture of what your screen's going to look like. There's no functionality there. It's just a picture. They were also looking at, let's build out the whole data model. So we have all the database stuff there. So once we know what the screens look like, we can just build everything. That was their starting point. And they've evolved that a little bit. So a lot, actually. And so thinking about how do we get a thin slice of something working? So instead of building out that whole data model, they're really just putting in one table, 4 fields that they're going to work on. Instead of building out all these wireframes to get feedback on the user interface, they're going to start with one of them. They're going to show those 4 fields, and they're going to say, hey, look what we built. But they're going to build something that works front to back. So
love it.
Yeah, why do you love it, Mike? What's good?
A couple of things. One, oftentimes I think we are our own worst enemies here. We're like, well, it's just 4 fields. Yeah, but it's 4 fields working all the way through the application. So I love the fact that you can show the product and you get the learning of actually having to build through all those layers of the application, learn how the data layer works, learn how the business logic layer works, learn how the UI layer works. I love that. Plus, but wait, there's more, Jeff. It's like an infomercial, but wait, there's more. You start building trust with your stakeholder community by saying, look what we created in a short amount of time. The other big benefit, and you and I, I'm dating us here once again, but you and I, when we used to develop, how many times were we looking at data models or actually databases where there would be tables that were completely empty, and we would go, well, why is that there? Well, we thought we'd need it, and so we built it, and now we never use it. And somebody has to maintain, somebody has to maintain that, somebody has to upgrade that, somebody has to test that every time. So I think there's a lot of benefits from thin slicing.
Yeah, one of the things that the team is needed to work through is the idea that their data model is going to change as they build it out, right? They're going to, this first thing of 4 fields in one table, that's probably the foundation of it. But as they go sprint by sprint, they're going to find they need to refactor some things. They need to change things that they've already done. And so they're trading off a little bit of efficiency in order to get feedback and really reduce risk that they're building the wrong thing. Because they're getting feedback, they're going to stay on track for building the right thing, because their customers, their end users can be able to see it working as they go. They're taking care of any technical risks that exist, talking between these systems, because they're building that right away.
Yeah, I think there's a really important point in what you just mentioned there, Jeff, of your model's going to change. You're not going to know how it needs to change until you actually try to use it. So instead of investing a bunch of time up front trying to get it perfect, and you're never going to be perfect, better to get started and figure out how that change is going to occur little by little over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully this thin slicing makes sense to people. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to start a conversation on this, or put some notes on here if you want to get into it a little bit deeper. But it's a really foundational concept. It's a different way of working, and a different way of creating software than a lot of teams have traditionally done. And so, kudos to the team I'm working with for taking a leap of faith and going after it. I think they're going to find that, number one, it's a lot more enjoyable to do, because they're all working together and building something that's real, and building something that's, better, getting feedback on it. And also it's going to just keep them moving in the right direction. They're not going to build big things that aren't used.
Yeah, I echo your comments. Great work on that team's part for embracing this. It is different, but it's really foundational to the regular delivery of valuable product.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this episode, and look forward to seeing you on future episodes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the take5IRL podcast. If you like it, please go ahead and share it with someone, as well as like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, leave us a comment or a suggestion for a future episode. Again, thanks for listening, and we look forward to you joining us next time on the Take5IRL podcast.